Hello everyone, welcome to my online HR training presentation. I'd like to introduce the new HR topic. It is called the rights of personnel. What rights do personnel have? All employees have basic rights in the workplace. The rights to privacy, fair compensation, and freedom from discrimination. A job applicant also has certain rights even prior to being hired as an employee. Employees have a right to privacy in the workplace. Employee rights. Employees have the rights to equal opportunities of employment and promotion regardless of age, gender, race, creed, and economic strata. Employees have the right to training and orientation as per the job specification. Employees have the right to get a written employment contract or agreement. Employees have the right to be treated with dignity and respect. Employees have the right to be paid the minimum wage as per the applicable rules and regulations. Employees have the right to have their grievances addressed if any, and employees have the right to leaves as per the company policy. Employee responsibilities. You need to adhere to professional work practice as per the company's rules, regulations, and practices. We need to provide clear and accurate information to the management during the employment process. We need to treat clients, patients, and co-workers with respect, dignity, and maintain confidentiality. We need to maintain and adhere to the patient's rights and responsibilities. We need to treat clients, co-workers, patients with respect and dignity, and to report to HR or the management about untoward incidents, dangerous, unsafe practices, and any type of harassment. We need to maintain confidentiality, and we need to accept, where applicable, adaptation to the environment, being a safe and secure environment for patients, co-workers, and clients. The Employee Handbook. What is the Employee Handbook? It is designed to provide additional information and guidance to employees. It outlines policies and procedures at Mulazama Nursing and Home Healthcare and the opportunities and resources that are available to you as an employee. It is intended to assist you to build a successful working relationship as part of Mulazama Nursing and Home Healthcare. It also serves as a guide in understanding what the company expects from you as an employee and what should be your expectation from the company. Employment contracts. Full-time employment contract. Under a full-time employment contract, the employee works full working days or hours and receives the total salary and allowances allocated to the position. Limited term contract. Fixed term. Limited term contracts mention the start and end dates of the employment period. Unless the contract is renewed, it is automatically cancelled when it expires. The limited term contract are for a maximum duration of 2 years. The contract must also include a notice period for termination. Unlimited term contract. An unlimited term contract is open-ended, more flexible, and commonly used in the UAE. It can be terminated with mutual consent or by giving a notice of 1 to 3 months. The parties involved must honor their obligations throughout the notice period. People wishing to work in the UAE are entitled to obtain an employment contract issued and attested by the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization and signed by the employee and the employer. The employment contract may be terminated if both parties agree on its termination if the employee's consent is in writing. Working hours. The normal working hours for private sector is 8 hours a day and 48 hours a week. Hours for medical staff is 240 hours per month as per demand and 12 hours per day. The normal working hours are reduced by 2 hours daily during the holy month of Ramadan. Overtime is as per the UAE labor law. Leaves. The UAE labor law includes a number of provisions that aim to ensure the physical and mental well-being of workers and boost their productivity by granting them days for rest on certain occasions and when health problems prevent them from attending. Official leaves and vacation. Friday is the official weekend for all workers. If circumstances require an employee to work overtime on that day, he will be entitled for regular working hours, pay, plus an increase of not less than 50% of that amount. Employees are entitled for paid leave on public holidays. Listed here are the public holidays for UAE from January until December. This is as per UAE labor law. In addition, employees are entitled to an annual leave of 2 days per month if they have completed 6 months of services but not 1 year. 30 days if they have completed 1 year of service. Employees are entitled to a sick leave of not more than 90 days per year, subject to conditions stipulated in the law. They will receive full pay for the first 15 days, half pay for the next 30 days, and no pay for the rest 45 days. Employees may be granted a special leave without pay, which may not exceed 30 days for the performance of Hajj once throughout his service. This is granted only once during his year of employment. Employees are not entitled to any paid sick leave during the probationary period. Minimum wage. Wages are defined by the UAE labor law as all payments made to the worker on a yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, piecework, or production or commission basis in return for the work he performs under the contract of employment, whether such payments are made in cash or in kind. Remuneration shall include the cost of living allowance. It shall also include any grant given to the worker as a reward for his honesty or efficiency if such amounts are provided for in the contract of employment or in the internal regulations of the establishment or have been granted by custom or common practice to such an extent that the workers of the establishment regard them as part of the remunerations and not as donations. Wages protection system in line with the UAE government efforts to improve performance and provide better and faster services to the public. The Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization has implemented a wages protection system to protect workers' rights and establish. End of services. If the employee resigns of his or her own free will before completing 1 year, then they will not be entitled to any gratuity pay. The worker is entitled to a gratuity for the served fraction of a year, provided that he completes 1 year of continuous service. The end of service gratuity is calculated on basis of last wage, which the employee was entitled to, namely the basic salary. Hence, it will not include allowances such as housing, conveyance, utilities, furniture, etc. If the employee owes any money to the employer, the employer may deduct the amount from the employee's gratuity. Workers' disciplinary rules. Disciplinary penalties are imposed on workers who do not abide by the rules and conditions laid down by the employment contract or the internal regulations of the establishment. We follow the rules and regulations of Mulasama Nursing and Home Healthcare when it comes to disciplinary penalties. Disciplinary actions is verbal warning, written warning, first, second, and third written warning, and deductions will depend on the severity of the incident and should be as per the labor law. Suspension and termination follows if incidents occur further. Resignation and termination. Resignation. When you resign, your employer's acceptance or rejection of your resignation is not essential legally. Even if the resignation was submitted by email, it is considered accepted from the date of submission. Therefore, your contractual notice period up until maximum of 3 months starts from this date. Termination. Your dues and receivables differ based on whether you are terminated on account of redundancy or if you are terminated in what is considered arbitrary dismissal. In arbitrary dismissal, employers are liable to compensate the employee for wrongful termination along with gratuity and other dues. In redundancy, there is no such compensation other than gratuity dues or notice period compensation. Notice period. You have to serve notice period when resigning, and this will usually be between 1 to 3 months based on your contract. It cannot be more than 3 months as per law, and your employer cannot force you to work for more than that. Your notice period is counted from the date of resignation or termination. In case of termination, the employer might ask you to work during the notice period or pay you the salary for the period before letting you go. Airfare. In accordance to Article 131, your employer is obligated to pay your airfare to your home country or previously agreed upon destination. However, if the employer enters into the service of another sponsor or employer after, then the latter becomes a responsibility for airfare from the point of recruitment. If termination is by fault of the employer is not legally liable to pay for airfare if the employee has the means to pay. This law is specific to the cost of traveling air ticket for the employee. Other costs such as shipping or family repatriation are also legally payable if agreed upon in the labor contract or as per the contractual company policies. Experience certificate. According to Article 125 of UAE Labor Law, an employee upon end of contract should be given an end of service certificate detailing the start date, end date, and nature of work performed during the period of employment. It should also state your latest pay or wage details if requested. An employee can request this certificate upon the end of his or her contract, and the employer will be liable to furnish this along with any other old certificates belonging to the employee. Gratuity. Payment of gratuity depends on how long you have been employed for as well as your contract type. Visa cancellation and passports. If you have a resident visa sponsored either by a family member or your employer, and you decide to leave the country permanently, your resident visa must be cancelled officially. Normally, only the sponsor can cancel your resident visa. If the company decides to cancel an employment visa of its employee, it must first approach Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation with an application to cancel the employee's labor contract and labor card. The employee must also sign this application. Then the employer should apply to the General Directorate of Residency and Foreign Affairs for visa cancellation. The company must also cancel the work permit. For this, he must submit a letter signed by the employee stating that he has already received all his wages and end of service benefits to the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation. An individual sponsoring his or her spouse, children and dependents must cancel the dependent's visa first before he cancel his or her own. Cancellation must be processed through the GDRFA that stamped the resident visa in the first place. Your passport should be handed over to you immediately after the completion of cancellation. Working as an expat in UAE. Expatriates who are coming to UAE either to take up an employment or to start a commercial activity as an investor or partner need to get a work permit or carry a valid resident visa if already a resident in the country. Stipulated rights of personnel as per labor law. Remuneration salary should be within the first 10 days of a month. An employee should have 1 day of rest every week, including service workers. Employing a worker less than 18 years of age is illegal. You should have 30 days paid annual leave and decent accommodation. You should be entitled to medical insurance, and this should be at the expense of the employer. Employees are entitled to have a return ticket at the expense of the employer once in every 2 years. They should have the right to receive treatment and compensation due to occupational hazards. Non-employment of a worker in an area that is different from the nature of his work. Should have the right to keep his or her identity documents. Should have the right to obtain a copy of the employment contract. They have the right to have sick leave and the right to end of service gratuity. I'd like to thank you for your time and participating in this online training presentation. Please fill up the attached feedback form so we can know your comments on this online training presentation. And please complete the online quiz, as there are questions to be filled on this presentation. So kindly fill out the quiz form and the feedback form so we can know your comments about this presentation. Thank you for your time and for attending this online HR presentation. If you have any questions regarding the rights of personnel which you'd like to know about, please mention them on the email and we will answer them back. Thank you.